some very important insights before we even wrote it. The first important finding is that no one had really bothered to look at how many immigrants were leaving the country. We talk so much about how many are coming, but very little about how many stay. So I think that's a very important finding to begin with. But the actual report itself found three things. First, so-called onward migration, that's immigrants who come and then leave, has been creeping up silently for decades, and it's gone pretty unnoticed. Second, in the most recent years that we have data for, 2017, 18, 19, the rate of onward migration skyrocketed. We're talking about spikes of 30 to 40% above the normal historical average of what you might expect. The third finding is one that gives me hope personally, is that the early years are really important. There's a really high risk that people will leave between years 4 and 8 after they get their permanent residency. If we can make Canada enjoyable and have positive experiences, both economically and socially, for immigrants in that period, the chances that they'll stay are much, much higher. So the ingredients are there, but we need to be paying attention to this. Retention is kind of gone unnoticed, and that needs to change.
And do we know why? What are the reasons that immigrants are choosing to leave?
So the data in this report don't say why, but I can tell you from our work, our organization serves more newcomers than any other settlement service agency in the country, and we talk to them all the time, about 250,000 people. I think the big reasons won't be a surprise. Not being able to find employment that match your skills and experience, for example, is a huge one. Of course, immigrants live in the same society as the rest of us, so housing affordability, challenges in healthcare, inflation, all these things affect immigrants equally. But I think the other change that we really need to be talking about is the change of who is coming to Canada. When my parents came to Canada, they were 18 years old. They spoke very little English. They had almost no education, so they had no expectations. They would never be allowed into Canada today as economic immigrants. Today, we're selecting people who weren't the poorest in their societies. Actually, they're among the wealthiest in their societies, who are the best educated. Many were homeowners in the country of origin, and so they've got options. And we need to be recognizing that actually we have a lot more that we can learn from immigrants. There's a lot more that they contribute. If we continue to treat people like they're all displaced people coming from desperate and destitute situations, we're going to continue to misevaluate their skills, underutilize their skills, and people will eventually become disillusioned and go back. And that's what the data are showing us. So